what we can do is predict, obviously, our Liverpool teams for the game. We know that Alisson will be in goal. Richard, I'll come to you first. Do you want to talk us through your back four? I suspect there could probably be a couple more changes compared to the Norwich game.
I haven't changed it much, to be honest with you. And the reason for that is because I fancy Andy Robertson to play in the final, and therefore Tsimikas stays at left back for this game for me. And I would stick with Van Dijk and Matip in the middle, and we'll probably bring Trent in on the right hand side just for this match, just to let him get a feel for it ahead of the final, which he'll inevitably start. So my back four's Trent, Matip, Van Dijk, and Tsimikas. Interesting.
I'm a couple of players different. I've gone for Trent and Van Dijk, but I bring Robertson back in and go for Ibrahim Konate as well. I think there's a good chance that Joel Matip is rested for Sunday. But Theo, who are you more in agreement with? How many changes is it for you?
I'd imagine both fullbacks come back in. I think we said on the pod last week we expected one of them to be rested against Leeds and one of them to be rested against Norwich, and Jurgen Klopp did the curveball by resting them both completely. Just seems odd to take them both out. Like, these are athletes, they play most weeks. Yeah, you can protect them against a possible injury, but they'll want to play in these games. They'll want to get these assists, clean sheets. There was a piece with Trent in the programme when he was saying how disappointed he was that he didn't get more assists when Salah was away at the Cup of Nations, because he wants to be leading that assist chart quite comfortably. So I'd expect both fullbacks to come back in. It would be a surprise if they weren't, for sure. At centre-back, I think Van Dijk's probably one of only, two players that you don't rotate when he's available, when he's fit and everything. So you'd expect Van Dijk to start. And then it's just who's starting for you at Wembley, because you imagine you give them the night off here. I can see the argument for Matip. Like, it'd be a big week for him if you put him in 3 times in a week when you've got that final. I wonder if there's a temptation to give Joe Gomez another start and to let him actually play at centre-back. I think he's only had 1 minute in the Premier League at centre-back this year, and that was in a back 5 when Robertson had been sent off already against Tottenham. But at the same time, he does seem way down the pecking order. So I think I'm leaning towards Matip's in the cup final. Konate starts this one, like you said, Matt.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against Joe Gomez either, to be honest. I think it'd be nice for him to get some minutes in his proper position. Theo, I'll stick with you for the midfield. Again, probably a couple of changes. I'll tell you mine first, in fact. I'll go for Thiago, Fabinho, and then Harvey Elliott, which is, I believe, the midfield 3 that started against Leeds in the reverse fixture.
It is, and it's the trio that started at the San Siro as well, isn't it, last week? I did our starting 11 changes pieces for this morning, and that was the midfield I had down for it, those 3. It's a bit harsh on some players. I think you protect Jordan Henderson for this one, don't you? You've got your 2 number 6s, you rotate them. Harvey Elliott, it feels like he has a little bit of a point to prove against Leeds. It'll be his first Premier League start since he dislocated his ankle against them. And Thiago, now he's so important when he's fit, he feels like it'll be a natural for him to come in. But then at the same time, with his injury record, maybe he is one you want to protect for the cup final, because I'd much rather see him fit and starting against Chelsea than I would against Leeds. There are other options there, of course. James Milner, would you put him in against his former club? You have to wonder what Curtis Jones would be thinking if he's not on the bench for this one. Like, he started against, was it the Leicester game when they beat 1-2-0, and he's not been in a squad since. This feels like it is a game where you would want to maybe reward him and go, you've not been forgotten. But at the same time, when they've got so many options there, it is hard to find a place for him. So I'd lean towards the 3 that you've said, Thiago, Elliott and Fabinho. But at the same time, Thiago would be surprised if he was on the bench and it was a Milner or a Keita.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see Curtis Jones at least back on the bench, wouldn't it, for this one? Richard, I'll come to you for the midfield as well. I think it would certainly help, Liverpool in terms of being able to control a game against Leeds if you have Thiago in there. But at the same time, I can see the argument as well that you really do not want him to be picking up a little injury.
Yeah, I'm wary of there being too many changes, to be honest with you, because this is still a very important game that Liverpool urgently need to win. But I do think that Thiago would probably be given a rest, and I would agree with Theo that you'd probably step on the side of the caution with Jordan Henderson as well. I have got a slightly different midfield though in terms of the options to come in, and I could see James Milner actually coming in and doing a job here in front of the back four with support from maybe Naby Keita and due to his likelihood of not starting in the League Cup final, Harvey Elliott as well in that midfield as well. So a bit of a different look to my midfield, with the of course with the insurance of having been able to make a few changes from the bench if things aren't working out as they didn't against Norwich and to a certain extent Inter Milan with that starting team. But yeah, I'll go with Milner, Keita, and Elliott.
Interesting. Theo, we'll come to you for the attack, even with a couple of injuries, as we mentioned before. Still a couple of options. Are you sticking with the same or bringing in one or two of those fringe players?
I'm not sticking with the same, just 'cause I didn't think it clicked. It didn't work until they had the fourth forward and they changed formation, and they had Mane back on the left with Diaz through the middle. Salah, I could see the sense in resting him with one eye on the cup final. Like, he's one of the few players that rarely is rested, but at the same time, it's Mohamed Salah. You don't rest him. So maybe he's the one that keeps his place. I'd like to see Origi through the middle. I think he works better as that central striker. There is an argument that you put Minamino there or Oxlade-Chamberlain there, but he's the natural fit ahead of them. Seems to be more of a threat. And then it's Mane or Diaz. If you start Diaz, it's because you're resting Mane for the final, but then you might want Mane to play into form, take him off on the hour mark, and then you've got him for the final anyway. I'd lean more towards Mane because I know they are still finding a way to feed Diaz into this side, aren't they? They're taking their time with him. They'll give him the odd start, then they'll put him on the bench for the next one. He's still adapting to English football. So yeah, Mane, Origi and Salah.
Yeah, I thought Diaz looked quite tired actually until he got that goal and then suddenly looked all rejuvenated again. But be interesting to see what they do with him. I'd be tempted actually to bring Minamino and Origi in and give both Mane and Diaz a bit of a rest, maybe bring them on for the last half an hour. But possibly if I had to choose between one or the other, maybe Mane on the left and Minamino through the middle. But Richard, do you want to finish us off with your front three?
Yeah, I'd start with Salah. I can't see him being left out, to be honest with you. I think he'll play. I would agree that Origi down the middle is the way to go, and I'd feel confident of playing him in that position. He's, despite the lack of games that he gets now, he's still a player that can be trusted, I think, to deliver when called upon. And I think we can safely say he's not going to start the League Cup final, so this is his chance to shine. So that just leaves you that position on the left there, Mane or Diaz for me. And again, I think Mane will start the final. So I think on this occasion, although he did say he does look a little bit tired against Norwich before his goal, I think on the back of the confidence of that goal, he might get another start against Leeds on Wednesday. Whether he'll play the full game or not, I suspect not. But I'll go with Salah, Origi and Diaz.
Yeah, good stuff. Should be enough, hopefully, to get Liverpool a win. Just before we go, we'll do our match predictions. I'm going to go 2-0 to Liverpool, I think. Theo, do you want to talk us through how you think it might go?
There's going to be changes, so I expect Liverpool to concede, but I expect them to have enough to win 3-1.
Good stuff. Richard?
The risk of being a bit boring, you're going to completely agree with Theo. I see it exactly the same way. I've got a feeling they're not going to keep a clean sheet, but they should have enough to breach that Leeds defence, and I would also say 3-1.
Yeah, well, any kind of win at this stage of the season, as long as Liverpool keep winning, will be absolutely fine. Plenty of build-up and reaction, of course, to come in all of the usual places, but from all of us here on the Blood Red podcast, that's all we've got time for. It's goodbye for now.